Danny's made his thoughts about the Manchester United manager pretty clear, either in written form or on today's show. But Martin, I talked about this with you last week. I have to bring it up again because you concede 4 against Leicester at the King Power. They're a very, very good side. They have a very, very good manager. But to lose at home, your own backyard against Liverpool, exactly like Ole Gunnar Solskjaer said, it hurts worse than losing 6-1 against Spurs because of who it is. And to be 4-0 down at half-time when they still had 11 players on the pitch as well, 5-0 down when they had 11 players on the pitch in the second half, before Pogba got sent off. Can you see him turning this around, honestly?
That it's going to be very, very difficult, considering where they want to be and where they stand at this particular minute. We talk about progress. I think Ian mentioned about the progress. He was happy with what Ole Gunnar Solskjaer has done up until now. Been in the job for a fairly lengthy time, and you have to put something. You have to put something into the cabinet. You have to win something, and they were very, very close, obviously, in the UEFA Cup last year, or the Europa League, whatever you're calling it, but it wasn't there, and so. You know, a miss is as good as a mile at the end of it all. You have to go. You have to try and be there. And this season here, I think that there was thoughts then, can they compete with the 3 teams? Well, very obviously on this performance, and maybe not just in this performance, other matches where they've conceded goals from set pieces where they should do better. They just are not equipped to go and contest in the Premier League at this minute, the very, very top echelon of the Premier League. The 3 sides there, they could easily still get into the Champions League because there might be a 4th place there. But the 3 teams above them are, at this minute, I have to say this, miles ahead. OK, what does that do? Does that put pressure onto the manager? Of course it does. And today against Liverpool, being absolutely hammered on their own ground means the pressure is even more severe. Danny can mention what he wants to because Danny is not managed. I've been in this position before. And I don't put Danny into this category. He's played at the very, very top level. But I've had other nondescripts speaking about my particular job. So I find that hard to go and say to him, a manager should go and lose his job, having been there myself at times. So, but this is Manchester United. This is difficult. This is a difficult one to take. Ole Gunnar Solskjaer and his backroom staff will have quiet introspection now, really. The problem about being hammered by half-time, and we mentioned about the 4th goal, the 5th goal, doesn't really matter. You have a lot of time to start thinking about things. So is the crowd, so is everyone, so is social media. Of course, there'll be the big charge now. Is he good enough? The other 3 people have got fantastic CVs in front of him. That's the battle he's up against. Every single defeat will multiply again. And that this is a really difficult one to come back from, because there didn't seem, even from the start of the game, there didn't seem the shape that I thought that they would have, at least to begin with here, having had the great result midweek.
Yeah, and I'm also thinking back over the last 18 months, give or take, in results for Manchester United. And to be fair to Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, he's gotten some big results. He's gotten at least draws. He's beaten Guardiola before, he's beaten Klopp, he's beaten Carlo Ancelotti when he was still in the Premier League as well. So it shows that he does have, or at least his squad has, what it takes. But do you think he was also aided by the fact that stadiums were empty for a long, long period of time? To not have the pressure, particularly at Old Trafford, from the fans wanting to play a certain way, wanting to be entertained, where you could almost get away with it, if you understand my drift?
Yeah, that's a very interesting question. I think the players have got away with that. Maybe not the manager. I would want players to step forward and take responsibility, to wear the Manchester United shirt. I've never done it. I've played against them. And go in there makes you feel totally different. You want to beat them, and you know you could get result of the day if you do that, like we did at QPR. We beat them 4-1, everybody was shocked. But, you know, to wear that shirt and have that pressure to have to win all the time is very, very tough. So Ole's also got the dual problem of being a fan's favourite, an super sub, goal scoring sensation, and great friends with Sir Alex Ferguson. You know, so he's certainly got the pressure of all of that. You know, but I think Danny and Martin have both talked about it's now. It has to be now. There's different ways to play. You can't play the way that Manchester United used to play. You know, and I was very surprised that he said at home, it's Old Trafford, we want to step on it. You have to see how good your team is at the moment, where you are. Can we do that? What suits us? If you ask them too many times to do something that they know they can't do and it doesn't suit them, you will lose them. Right? You will lose them. He was a hero a few weeks ago, bringing in Cristiano Ronaldo. You know, he was an absolute hero. Signed Varane. That's the hardest thing that Ole's had to do, is get them to spend the money to make them able to compete. But Varane wasn't there today. You know, they don't fill all the cracks if the balance isn't right. And I'm saying for a long, long time, Sir Alex Ferguson had a way about him that made people understand what Manchester United meant to him. And he would not tolerate anyone at all with an attitude who thought they were sort of bigger than Manchester United. So what did he do with Pogba? He got rid of him as a kid. You can't stroll around here. You can't have him. We're not having you. So Jose Mourinho brought him back. Crazy. And now Ole's having a word. Yeah, we all know how good he could be, but will you win something with someone who doesn't act like a winner? So Ole's got all of these problems, and do you know what? Everybody's going to go away and say, is he good enough? Is he this? Is he that? Is he this? And they will ignore what he actually has done up to the point. You know, a bit like Steve Bruce. How he's been treated, I think, is absolutely unbelievable at Newcastle, right? By those supporters. He was working for an owner who didn't really want to keep it anymore. And then the new owners come in and they get rid of him. Oh, that's like, oh, I don't like it. You know, his 1,000 games, he's earned my respect. So in football management, you don't get that anymore, right? So Ole hasn't got that. And unless he wins something, I'm sorry, right? He's been there long enough now. Sir Alex took 4 years to win something. Thank God the game was slightly different back then, because we'd have never seen that genius, as he proved to be in the end, build all those wonderful teams. So whatever we feel about it, if you're a Manchester United supporter, right, you got to eat humble pie tonight. You are nowhere near as good as those top three, right? No matter what you spend. And then you got a big decision to make. Who are you going to choose to take over from Ole? Who's out there at the minute? It's incredible. Who are Newcastle going to give it to? You know, so all I'm saying, sometimes you need to carry things through, providing you believe that the players are doing what the club want you to do. And I don't think those players are doing anything like it, as well as Ole and the pattern and get back to work. For me, I would say, shut up, get back to work, get back to work. That's how I would do it. Okay. And I'm a little bit on the manager protection side, I have to say that. But I'm telling you at the minute, I'm also a little bit on the expectation of the fans, because they are back in, right? They are back in. You've got to have a realistic look at yourselves. Just because you got Ronaldo, who's 36, just because you got Varane, just because Tuchel's come in and put the senior ones back in, where Frank Lampard, I thought, made some brilliant signings at Chelsea. He brought all the young ones, you know. Hazard.
Ian, do you know what it is? Do you know what it is? You know what it is? I'll tell you, the way I see it, he's a good manager, Ole. He's done many good things. It shouldn't be a pile-on. It's a bit like, same as players. If you've got a good player, Ole's shown in the past, on one-off games, he's beat Guardiola. He's set up good tactically to beat Man City on occasion, and other games too. He's not an idiot. He's a decent manager. But he's competing against some of the best, as we alluded to earlier. It's a bit like myself. I had good moments in my career, but I couldn't do it for the same amount of time, week in, week out, like Gerrard and Scholes could, or Lampard could. They're just a bit above me. And maybe I could have had more time, but I didn't. And I was a bit below them, and I had to fight hard to try and stay with them. He's fighting hard to try and stay with three guys who are more competent than him. And you can leave him in a job for another 3 years, and he might learn on the job to get to their level. But right now, he's not. So United have got a choice to make. It's a bit like, you know, if Danny Ings is a good striker. He has a good season and gets double figures. And he's a good footballer, very good. But he's not Mo Salah. And he's not going to be. So sometimes you just have to accept where you are. Solskjaer's not a top elite manager, and he's not going to be by staying in that job. He might have to go somewhere else to learn his trade and then come again. Who knows? Very unlikely. Right now, he's not in the same league as he's competing with. And sometimes you have to accept where you are. United, with Ole in charge, are not going to compete with those three teams. It's as simple as that. Like him or loathe him.
Danny, I need to ask you this. Do you think that Solskjaer is asking that question to himself? Do you think on a regular basis, do you think he questions it and can answer authentically and truthfully that is he good enough?
I think we all have that fight in our careers to question yourself and say, am I good enough for this level? Can I do this job? I can do it. I think he's got self-belief. He wouldn't be in the position he's in. He wouldn't have been the player he is. He's obviously got self-belief. But after today, it's going to be difficult for him. Who motivates the motivator? That's the question, isn't it? The manager, because I remember Dario Gradi years ago saying to me, because he's the one who had to get the club forward at Crewe all those years ago, and it was like, who motivates the motivator? He was talking to me about it. And the only person that motivates the motivator is that person themselves. And Ollie has to do that. No one's going to be there, when he wakes up in the morning to tap him on the back and go, come on, you're all right. He's got to do that himself. And that's what leadership is, great leadership. Can he bring that team together of superstars? Can he get a work ethic? Can he get an identity? It's very unlikely from what I'm watching. The ill discipline is there. It shouldn't be there, that ill discipline, if you've got everybody in tow.
I need to ask you then, Danny, because of what you've written, what you've said here today, you've been quite vocal about it. Who comes in then? Who takes over at Manchester United if Ole was to leave? Because we can talk about problems, we should also talk about solutions.
Well, I mean, the obvious candidate is Conte.
Well, what kind of manager should they be looking for then? Who would want it?
Well, there'll be a lot of men. The guys will tell you more than me. I mean, if you're in the worker management and you get offered a Manchester United job, what a wonderful opportunity that is for somebody. There needs to be a team of people at United in charge of recruitment who are trying to who've got a map of what they want the club to be and what it to look like. If you're talking about short term, getting players on track, I know that Conte wasn't particularly liked at Chelsea in his short tenure there by some of the players, but he won the title. Good managers don't have to be your mate. Good managers don't have to be liked. And at the moment, they need some discipline there and a structure, and they haven't got one. And Conte's the obvious choice. But I'm sure there's plenty more managers who are capable.
Martin, very, very briefly, before we go over to Jurgen Klopp, I just want to know which managers will want it right now, that is, given how toxic it can be at times. Because I'm sure David Moyes thought, oh, Manchester United, OK, I want to take over. Didn't end well. Louis van Gaal, he gets sacked after winning a cup, winning a trophy. Jose Mourinho went out in extremely acrimonious circumstances. Managers have come in, tried and been burned badly. David Moyes is only rebuilding his reputation now at West Ham. It's taken this long.
But you're suggesting, Adam, then that there's a toxic situation there. Absolutely not. The situation is because they were following Alex Ferguson. Really as simple as that. David Moyes was the first one in after Alex Ferguson. That was going to be a hard job to fill, regardless of what happened. I know that Ian mentioned beforehand maybe he changed the whole staff around too quickly. You can learn from a lot of things that you couldn't have done. I know we're all brilliant Monday morning quarterbacks in this game. But all I will say about it is this here, that Manchester United job was a phenomenal job, as Danny mentioned. Absolutely phenomenal. Ask anybody in the street, they would take the job. Well, it is a great job to have. So it's not toxic. It's a matter of looking after the players, actually dealing with players. This game is still about man management. Pep Guardiola, who's as good as anybody in world football at this minute, said again, it's about man management. Of course you can deal with tactics. Of course you have a plan. You need to have a plan to go out and play. And whether plan B follows plan A or not, I'm not wildly sure about all of those particular things. But I know that if you have if you have a group of players believing in what you are doing, you being the manager, then you can overcome an awful lot. You need to be winning first of all, and that winning of the trophy, as Sir Alex Ferguson said, and as I know myself, I feel this here way back at you have to be winning. And when you start winning, the disbelievers, the unbelievers in your group of people will start to either believe in what you're doing, or they will disappear automatically out of the road, and then you will have a group of players that will absolutely follow you to the ends of the earth. That's the point, and that's about management. One other thing you mentioned there about way back at the start about maybe Manchester United missed out the crowds. Nobody missed out the crowds more than Klopp at Liverpool. Danny will tell you what an atmosphere it is to play at Anfield. And they lost game after game after game because there were no crowds there at the back end of the season. Those things are forgotten because they've started this season with a charge again back to the sort of football that they love to play, the pressing, the players not only just pressing, when they're taking it off it, you've got great players being able to manipulate the ball and score goals and things like this here in and around the opposition penalty area. So you've all of that there going on. It's everything. I think that the final point you mentioned here, you mentioned something, maybe you should forget about the past at Manchester United. Not at all. Not at all. There's a sort of a paradox there, because you can't forget about the past, because the past is what drives you on. This is what you are. This is what Ole Gunnar Solskjaer is actually being compared or contrasted to the past. So you can't ignore the past. Go for it. Say it's there. It's there. It's in writing. It's right in front of you every single day at training. Try and emulate that. That's the driving force that any manager would want to do.